This video was requested by Aidan Saba, Carrie Cole, Drew Pursehouse, Doral Thompson, Puppets Create, Samurai 10, and Sean McDonald. Hello and welcome back to Quirk Analysis 101, the series where I give you a detailed rundown on the quirks in the world of My Hero Academia. In the last video of this spooktacular edition, I discussed the ability that belongs to the number 2 showman, Magician Supreme, Mr. I'll Cradle Your Balls, Lend Me a Hand, Atsuhiro Sako, aka Mr. Compress, and his very basic but beloved ball-building quirk, Compress. And yes, that is correct, Mr. Compress did name himself after his quirk, which is super unoriginal, but at least he had the decency to put Mr. before it, unlike this overgrown potato-headed atrocity of a person. In today's video, I'll be discussing the quirk that belongs to the fan favorite, flaming hot boy, senior I'll burn you but you'll still call me daddy, I told you being emo wasn't just a phase, key member of the League of Villains, Dabi. But before I begin, don't forget to Detroit smash that like button and slide on into that subscribe button's DMs to hit that notification bell. And now, without further ado, let's fire our way on over to the ferocious, flaming, crispy, cruel quirk that is Cremation. Cremation is an emitter type quirk which first appeared in chapter 74 of the My Hero manga and episode 41 of the anime. This quirk grants its user the ability to produce, generate, and manipulate fire from their body at will. Now, this may sound very similar to Endeavor's Hellflame ability, which I've discussed in a previous video. And if you just look at the base descriptions of these quirks, then yeah, they are practically identical. However, when you take a closer look, there are a couple of key differences between these two quirks. For starters, Cremation is much more powerful than Hellflame, with the user being able to produce flames that reach temperatures above that of 2000 degrees Celsius, or 3632 degrees Fahrenheit. To put this into perspective, the temperature of lava, you know, the thing that erupts out of volcanoes and destroys everything in its path, is usually somewhere between 700 and 1200 degrees Celsius. That's right, the flames produced by Cremation are nearly twice that of molten lava. But according to some My Hero fans, they are still nowhere near as hot as the quirk's user. This huge amount of heat is also why Dabi's flames appear blue rather than the stereotypical red, because they are much hotter. Another difference between Hellflame and Cremation is that while Cremation does seem to provide the user with some form of pyrokinesis, which is the ability to control flames with your mind, it doesn't seem to be at the same level to that of Hellflame. So, while Cremation's flames are far more powerful than Hellflame's, the user has far less control over them, which makes total sense when you think about it. What's easier to manipulate, the flame of a candle or a flame that can wipe you from this plane of existence? I'm gonna go with the candle. But speaking of things to wipe from existence, why not wipe away that hole in your heart that desires to experience everything that is the magical country of Japan by filling it with this video's sponsor, Boxu.
Boxu? What's that, Mr. Lunchtime?
Well, Dave, Boxu is a premium Japanese snack box subscription service that delivers original assortments of traditional gourmet Japanese snacks and tea pairings.
Wow, that sounds amazing!
I know, right? And these aren't your average run-of-the-mill snacks either. Boxu works with 100-plus-year-old authentic Japanese snack makers to bring you the best and most scrumptious treats in the business. And trust me, they're delicious. Each of these beautiful boxes comes jam-packed with tons of different sweets and treats, as well as a booklet detailing not only information on each of these delightful goodies, from their flavor to their place of origin, but also on the box's theme.
The box's theme?
That's right, Dave. You may have thought this was a simple snack box, but there is so much more. Each month, Boxu will deliver a brand spanking new box chock full of new snacks and a new booklet full of fun information, all centered around the month's theme. So not only will you be blessed with a plethora of gorgeous treats to feast down on, but you will also be able to learn about the culture behind them. It's like a gourmet journey through Japan every month. For your first box, you'll receive the Seasons of Japan themed box, which contains snacks that capture the feeling of those flavorsome seasons of Japan. Some of my personal favorites from this box include the Puku Puku Thai chocolate, a chocolate mousse snack wrapped in mochi wafers that looks like a fish but tastes like heaven. 7, the edamame senbei, whose savoriness saved my taste buds and brought them to a new, beautiful world. And the white strawberry, a white chocolate infused strawberry, oh my days, my mouth's getting watery just thinking about it, which should be used as the new definition of the word delicious. But don't just take my word for it. If you want to experience these mouth-watering delicacies and learn about the fascinating and mystical culture of Japan, you can hit that link in the description and use the code LUNCHTIME10. I mean, what a fitting promo code, am I right? To get a whopping 10% off your subscription. And now, with all of that said, it's time to get back to the video, where we're going to discuss Cremation's abilities. For which, just like the past few quirks I've discussed, there is not a huge amount of. But there is a reasoning for this. You see, Cremation is uber, and I mean super duper, uber powerful. The flames that this quirk produces are so strong that not only can they utterly obliterate building walls with ease, but they can also make almost anything they come in contact with combust instantaneously. Whether it's a super strong and durable material, or a person. I mean, we have seen Dabi on multiple occasions wipe out hordes of enemies with a simple flick of his wrist. But it's also because of this raw power that Dabi has never really had a need to do anything else with his quirk other than dispatch enemies. For long-ranged attacks, Dabi can shoot out large waves of fire like a flamethrower that disintegrate anything in their path and travel quite a long distance. For up-close encounters, Dabi can release short consecutive quick bursts of flames roasting anything they get close to. And he can also make a wall of blue flames to trap and prevent his opponent from escaping, as seen when Dabi trapped Endeavor and Hawks in his flames after their fight with High End. Also, for a boost to mobility, similarly to Endeavor, the user can shoot a concentrated blast of heat energy through the soles of their feet to propel themselves forward and even through the air. Although Dabi, unlike Endeavor, rarely has a need for this technique. And that's really everything this quirk is capable of, for now at least, in terms of basic abilities and basic techniques. There is a huge possibility that this quirk is capable of a hell of a lot more, but until Dabi finds the need to show these moves off, we will never know. However, surprisingly, this quirk does have some named super moves, which just so happen to be Dabi's own version of Endeavor's techniques. And I mean, I don't blame him. If you have a similar quirk to the #1 hero, you might as well take some notes of his super moves and see if you can do them too. Lord knows that's what Midoriya does. But anyway, the first super move we have seen Dabi use is called Flash Fire Fist. For this move, Dabi raises his fire's temperature to its highest level, maximizing his power, allowing him to unleash devastating flame attacks while also increasing his speed dramatically. While using this technique, Dabi can then perform another super move called Flash Fire Fist Jet Burn, in which he concentrates his flames into a white-hot point on his hand and releases a devastating fiery white-hot blast towards his target. As in regards to an ultimate move, Dabi has no known ones of his own, but we have seen him try to imitate Endeavor's Prominence Burn, a move in which Endeavor uses the full might of his flames to emit a concentrated beam of heat from his whole body that is capable of entirely vaporizing any target. Although, before we could see if Dabi was able to pull this move off himself, he was interrupted and wasn't able to fire it off. But can you imagine what it would be like if Dabi did use this move? Endeavor basically turned into the sun. Imagine performing a move even more powerful than that. Now I would pay money to see that. But now it's time to talk about this quirk's weaknesses. And unfortunately, this quirk does have some major flaws. The most substantial of which is the fact that the user doesn't have much resistance to their own flames. This means that overusing this quirk will cause the user's skin to swell, sizzle, and slowly burn over time. Now, this doesn't seem too bad until you realize that it not only puts the user at a disadvantage when it comes to prolonged battle, it not only puts a huge limit on the number of flames you can produce at the one time, turning all of your most powerful attacks into risk-it-all techniques, but it also means that every time you use this quirk, you are literally burning yourself alive. Now, I don't know about you, but that is something I never want to experience. It's also important to note that the power of this quirk is directly tied to the user's emotions, more specifically, anger. The angrier the user becomes, the the more powerful the flames become, which can be a good thing. However, if the user gets too angry and loses control of their emotions, this quirk will activate itself and create uncontrollable flames far greater than the user's body can handle, burning the user until they turn into a pile of ash. So if you want this quirk, you best hope you've great control over your emotions, or you're gonna turn into one fine piece of bacon. Another weakness that comes with this quirk, and all fire quirks for that matter, is flammable objects. If you're in an area with highly flammable objects or substances, you would have to limit your usage of this quirk, as to not set said flammable objects ablaze. But just like Hellflame, the most devastating weakness of this quirk is your clothes. While Endeavor and Dobby happen to live in a world where they can easily get access to fire retardant clothing, not every piece of clothing in our world is as forgiving. So if you ever wanted to get your flame on, you would probably lose every clothing item on you. And depending on your self-confidence, you could also lose your dignity as well. But enough of the weaknesses, now it's time to talk about this quirk's potential. The biggest of which would be if the user could counteract the overheating problem. If the user could make a suit almost similar to that of Shoto Todoroki's or even Tenya Iida's, which have a built-in cooler to prevent overheating, then the user of this quirk would be practically unstoppable. They could fire away their most powerful moves, absolutely annihilating everything in their path without a care in the world. The only thing they would have to really worry about is their emotions. But come on, it's not like that's ever been an issue for anyone before. Another great potential for this quirk would be if the user could just straight up copy Endeavor. Endeavor has dedicated his whole life to perfecting his quirk, and has basically maxed it out in every way he can. So, with Cremation essentially being just a more powerful version of Hellflame, if its user learned how to do everything Endeavor does, they would legit just be an even more powerful version of the #1 hero. Plus, they would also gain access to a plethora of different techniques. I think Dobby's on the right track, copying the flaming hero. But the most amazing potential this quirk has to offer is the fact that you could be your own cooker. Want some fried eggs? Take off your shirt, pop them on your stomach, heat up, and boom, you got some fresh fried eggs. Hungry for some bacon? Just slap them on your arm, give them a little flick of the wrist, and ooh, is that bacon being cooked or just you? The cooking possibilities are endless. But with all of the potential out of the way, now it's time to talk about just how horrifying this quirk can really be. And let's be real here, anything to do with fire or flames can be terrifying. But what if you faced off against someone who could control that terror? Imagine it, that sweltering heat against your skin, sweat pumping out of your body, desperately trying to cool you down, but it's pointless. From this quirk, there is no escape. As the heat rises and rises, the pain feels endless. Your blood begins to boil inside your veins, tearing through your body, your skin burning and deforming under the heat, layer by layer, crumbling and turning to dust. Your vision fades as your eyes turn to liquid and drip out of their sockets. Your muscles relentlessly spasming and bending as they try to comprehend what hell they are going through. You try to call out for help, but your tongue has dried up. You're unable to move, unable to see, unable to speak, unable to do anything. Only suffer. And that's everything you need to know about the quirk Cremation. Overall, this is definitely one of the most powerful quirks in the series. I mean, when it comes to raw power, there are little to no quirks that can match it. However, even though it is uber powerful, I do believe for the first time, the weaknesses definitely outweigh the strengths. Burning alive from the inside out? No, thank you. But let me know what you think. Would you like to have the Cremation quirk? And what quirk would you like me to cover in this series next? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra.